Browns getting ready to face the Steelers on the road, Mary Kay, and Baker Mayfield today. It was his day to talk, and he talked about the offense. Hugh Jackson saying he would get more involved. Kind of backed off of that on Monday, and Baker Mayfield basically said today they don't need to reinvent the wheel.
Yeah, he didn't sound like, oh yeah, this is great, let's do this, you know, bring it on. He said, we really don't need to change a lot, we just need to do our jobs better, we need to perfect our craft. But if you look at that offense and you study some of the numbers, they are quite disturbing. They're 29th in so many different categories. They're tied for 23rd in points scored. They're not getting out of the gate quickly at all. They've scored only 8 points in the first quarter of games all season combined, and 2 of those were on a safety. So there are issues.
Yeah, and those scripted plays at the beginning just aren't really getting a lot done for this team. And, you know, Joel Bitonio talked on Sunday about penalties and mistakes and things like that. And that's sort of what Baker was getting at, too, that they need to clean up a lot of those things.
Yeah, they really do. They had 14 penalties this last game, a lot of mental errors, but then things just don't go well the way that they should. I mean, to not make it in on a sneak on 4th and 1, I mean, I find that when you've got 6 inches to go, that's kind of inexcusable there. 4th and 2. Fumble because Baker didn't switch hands. So, you know, there are so many other issues too, including the fact, and I've been harping on this like crazy, they don't have enough receivers.
Yeah, they're very thin at wide receiver. Now, Baker Mayfield also talked about that hit to the helmet that he took. It seems like the league is probably going to issue a fine to the Tampa Bay player that did hit Baker Mayfield. Doesn't really help them though with Sunday's result, and the Browns players, including Mayfield this time, continue to express their frustration with the officiating.
Yeah, I mean, it was so bizarre to be sitting in that stadium, and I'm sure for the fans at home too, hearing it on TV, that we were allowed to hit him in the head because he was a runner. Well, you can't do that anyways, even if you are a runner these days. So that was kind of crazy. But I did talk to people, sources, and I wrote this last night, that you know, that Jordan Whitehead is expected to be fined for that, which will be an acknowledgement that it should have been a penalty. So it definitely should have been. I expect him to be fined maybe $26,000, somewhere along those lines. It doesn't do them any good now, but the Browns, they've got to get this turned around. They've got to get this stuff turned around, and they have to make it so that 1 or 2 penalties isn't going to make or break them.
Well, maybe one of those ways to get the offense going and to get things turned around would be to involve Duke Johnson a little more. He spoke today, and look, it's not like Duke to really publicly complain about his role, talks about doing his job, but the reality is after trading Carlos Hyde, he gets 1 carry, 4 targets. It was really surprising on Sunday.
Yeah, it really was, and you know, it's really been Todd Haley that's sort of been reluctant to give Duke Johnson the ball, because every time we sit in there with Hugh Jackson, he says over and over and over, we need to get Duke the ball more. We need to get Duke the ball more. Now today he made it seem like it's more of a team effort or a staff-wide effort that they have to do that. But up to this point, I think for whatever reason, Todd Haley just hasn't used Duke Johnson effectively enough.
Now on the injury front, nothing real new there. Rashard Higgins not likely to play this week. Joe Schobert the same. And the same with E.J. Gaines, who remains at the concussion protocol. That would mean Demarius Randall could end up playing corner again if he's able to go. He was on the side today as well, so it's a little unclear. He'll likely be out there, but it's probably too early to tell.
Yeah, you know, he kind of seems to rally late, and they really want him and need him to get out there, especially when you're going to be going up against Ben Roethlisberger, Antonio Brown, Juju Smith-Schuster, and those guys. I mean, you're going to need everything that you can get out of your secondary for sure. But on a decent front, J.C. Treader should be able to play even though he has a high ankle sprain.
All right, we'll have full coverage of everything that happened here in Berea, all at cleveland.com/Browns.